Welcome to Call That Girl's Office 365 course. This is course number 11, and this week we're covering OneNote, which is one of the free and paid products of Office 365. Our guest trainer this week is Laura Leist, who is from Seattle, and she's a professional Microsoft Outlook trainer, a OneNote expert, and also runs an organizing business. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
Hey. Well, Laura, why don't you tell everybody about what you're up to up there? I know you're a busy gal, and before we start, though, I'm going to tell people a little story. It was a few years ago. I was out looking on the internet for other Outlook experts, and I found Laura, and I was like, oh, I would like to actually work with another Outlook expert, and everything you did was like a perfect pairing for things I didn't do. And Laura and I met, and we've been colleagues ever since, pretty much.
Yep.
I
still remember the day that you called to my office. Wanted to know how my Outlook SEO got so high.
I know. SEO is a little hobby of mine. But yeah, and it was just kind of nice to find other experts in my field that I could refer work to. So once Laura and I got to know each other, I started doing SEO for OneNote. And this is part of the course. What we're going to talk about is there's a technical aspect to OneNote, and then there's the next level, which is what Laura does, is the configuration, templates, customizing, and training, which is what the companies really want, I think, right?
Right.
Is they want everything. So when clients call me, they're mostly home users that have a really horrible OneNote setup that's like got 5 free email accounts attached to it and workbooks everywhere. But anyway, why don't you go ahead and tell us more about you and what you do and how people can call you and hire you too later. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So I founded Eliminate Chaos nearly 20 years ago, and we do both productivity consulting as well as residential organizing. We have 2 divisions of our company. And so I primarily work on the business side, and I have a couple of other employees that are also productivity specialists. And so when our clients call and they need help with projects, it's kind of my responsibility to figure out, which one of us is going to be the best person for that. And what's so great about kind of the way our company is structured is that we have people that can do the front end as well as the back end. So I'm not super technical. Like, I don't do what you do, Lisa. And I think you probably don't do, what Malia and I do. And so a lot of times what businesses are looking for is they are looking for, how do we roll out and use OneNote in our organization? And while it seems like it's a pretty simple tool to use, I think that people just start using it with really no system or structure in place, and then they make a big mess. And then a lot of times our clients have a really hard time understanding, like, how do we share the notebooks? How do we secure them? And I also find that a lot of our business clients do not understand, like, what is the business need? What does the structure need to look like? What is the system that needs to go in place? What are the naming conventions? How do you set up these notebooks so that, they're really efficient? And while you can go back and change it later on, you might as well just do it the right way the first time. So we tend to do a lot of upfront consulting with our clients on, just getting that basic structure in place. But then we also will follow that up with customized training, although I do offer some public OneNote classes as well. People just want to come in and take the off-the-shelf classes.
Well, maybe we should start by, for those that are new to OneNote, when my clients ask me what it is, I end up saying it's kind of like the Trapper Keeper from the 70s. It reminds me of Trapper Keeper. It's like a binder that you can have different tabs and different things can be in there. You can organize stuff, and you can put pictures, hot links, email. I mean, it's kind of like you can put anything in a OneNote workbook, right?
Right. So the way I describe a OneNote notebook is that it's a digital notebook.
Okay.
And I sort of will, relate to the whole, like, think about it as a spiral notebook or a 3-ring binder. You have a 3-ring binder, that's your notebook, and inside of that notebook you have your dividers, right? The things that you put the little tabs in the side. And then in between those dividers, so those dividers become your sections in
Gotcha.
notebook. columns, okay? So your dividers are the sections, and then between those dividers in your notebook, you have the pages. And so those would be the individual loose leaf notebook pieces of paper that you put in the notebook. And then you can have your sub pages, and I haven't quite figured out how to translate that with like regular notebook paper in a digital notebook, but you can make sub pages, and I'll show you a good example of how I use sub pages in notebooks. Yeah. But that's really what it is. And just to add on to like what you already mentioned about how you can insert, you know, pictures and text and links to websites, but you can also insert audio clips. You can insert video clips that you can record right through OneNote and have it live in there. You can also create templates in OneNote so you're not having to recreate a structure over and over again. You can insert PDF files, Word docs, Excel documents. There's really a lot that can be inserted into the notebooks.
Well, as a technician who troubleshoots it, I can tell you I've seen almost every OneNote client who's ever called me absolutely knows so much about it, and they live and breathe by it, and realtors seem to really love it, I think. Yes. I've found. But I actually compliment each client. I'm like, you could be a OneNote expert. They literally know it so well, but they don't know the technical parts.
Sure.
So technicians listening here, if you want to get into troubleshooting it, I can offer some tips later before we're done, but there's tips that I do just to prevent, because those are critical to people that use them. Like backing up, very critical. And when they get crazy and confused, I have to be very careful before I do anything. And I don't do what Laura does, the customizing, but that's what my clients do. They customize their own, Laura. Like, especially the ones that work from home, I think they're a little more into it. But I'm sure you've seen some crazy OneNotes, though.
I have. I find that for most of my clients, the real struggle that they have is figuring out, you know, what to call their notebooks, what to put in each, and then how to divide up that information. And there's really no right or wrong way about how to go about doing it, but you do want some sort of a logical structure.
Right.
The nice thing about it is that, you know, if you create a OneNote notebook and then you decide at a later point in time that, you know, this no longer makes sense to have this information here, well, you can just very easily copy it to another notebook or move those pages. And I've even had to do that myself over the years as I brought employees on and I've shared out some of the notebooks. You know, I didn't necessarily want, or the employees didn't have a need to have all of this information. So I made a different notebook that we could share, that maybe all of the information didn't need to be there for them because it's so easy to move it.
Right. That's smart. I bet you could do a lot with that with the teams and HR and stuff too. You can update things quick.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me look at my notes here and see what our next thing is. So we talked about that. All right. So before we get started, Laura's going to be doing a demo on a local OneNote, not the Office 365. So I just want to be clear about that with folks that I happen to always help people with local OneNote also. Not many of them use the cloud and the Office 365. The only time I literally never or I ever check it is to verify that we're working in the right OneNote workbook. Because some people have 3 or 4 accounts and they're all mixed up. So that's why I go to the cloud and go check it to make sure it matches. But most of my folks like the desktop application OneNote, not the app. Have you seen that before, Laura?
I have. And I have clients that use both.
Really?
Typically, yes. And I'll explain kind of what happened with one client. We wanted to build out these notebooks. He was literally taking his CRM and turning it into OneNote notebooks, which at first I was against because it's not designed to be a CRM. But at the end of the day, it made sense what the business goal was that we were trying to meet. So we set up all of these structures, and some of the things that we wanted to do, like creating these templates in their notebooks for their users to use, you can't do that on the cloud version, at least that I'm aware of. And so I created all of their notebooks on, you know, the desktop software, but because they have access to it online, then they're able to use those features. They just couldn't like set up things a certain way. So I sort of refer to the online version as kind of a watered down version of OneNote. It also looks a little bit different. The user interface is a little different. But it still will contain all of the information that you put into the notebook.
Yeah, so the thing for technicians troubleshooting, there's the desktop application OneNote, and then there's also one on the desktop, Laura. I don't know if you've seen it. It's just called the app.
Desktop app. Oh, you don't want to use that one.
That app is like, who would even want to start with that? Because I was actually troubleshooting a client that had using both, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
We go in and remove that off the desktop.
Yeah.
So there's no confusion.
Yeah, it's kind of like a kindergarten level. You can't do anything. You can't move notebooks in it. You can't do anything, no. So just so everybody's clear, if you get a call, there's an app, and then there's the desktop application. So, all right, Laura, I think we're ready for the demo here. I just want to make sure I got everything. So why don't you do the screen share and start showing us your fancy work there.
All right.
I got a preview of it, and I was like, I love it.
Okay. Here we go.
All right.
So I'm just going to walk you through. This is my computer. So I'm going to be just demoing kind of live what I do. And this is actually how I teach my public classes. It's not how I teach the custom classes that I do, because I'm using their OneNote notebooks that we've actually set up. So I just want people to understand, and I don't have all my notebooks showing either. Right. So I'm just going to kind of give you the high-level tour and give you kind of my thought process behind how I set some things up.
Cool.
So over here on the left-hand side, we have the list of notebooks, and I've got about 7 or 8 that I use on a regular basis. I have one here called Eliminate Chaos. This used to be my main notebook for the longest time, where I would store everything that had to do with the business. I would store client information in secure sections that I can password protect. I would store information about the business, and then as I brought on more employees that were needing to use OneNote, I needed to subdivide that information. So now what I've done is I've created a I've created a notebook called Client Productivity, which is used for our clients that Malia and I share. So the great thing about this type of a notebook structure is that Malia, and if you see up top here, you can see the different sections of our notebook. But in this Client Productivity notebook, the thing that is helpful for Malia and I is that at any given point in time, I can basically go in and figure out what clients she has added, and I can see the notes. So I know exactly what's going on with any client at any given time. Then we have a notebook that we've developed, and I find that this is really handy for most businesses, is you have one called Office Procedures. And this one has everything to do with what we do in the office, and it's shared with a number of our employees. I have another notebook called Speaking. This is for all of the speaking and training that I do. I keep all of that information in one location. I have another notebook for all the books I'm working on. So research. So I literally have a section for each book that I'm working on, and anytime I find, maybe a link to an article that I want to include, or some statistics or quotes or just data, or things I need to change in the next version of the book, I will put it into there. Then I have this notebook called Productivity Specialist Reference. This is another example of a notebook that we use internally to share out with our employees. So if I go into that notebook, this is information that Malia and I use on a regular basis, where we can look up information in here. We can email out a page to a client if they are, wanting some information. And this is just, again, a tool for us to be able to share information that is useful to our clients. On the residential team, we have a similar notebook called the Organizing Specialist Reference Notebook. So same idea, different people that are accessing these notebooks. Mm-hmm. Then I have a Laura notebook, which I use for personal information. The recipes notebook, that's one that I love, has all my recipes. And what's so cool about it is because it synchronizes right to everything, my iPad, I can have my iPad in the kitchen and I just pull up a recipe and I can cook from that.
Nice.
Or if I'm at the store and I've got the OneNote, app on my phone, I can look to see, what's my list of ingredients.
Nice.
Then I have my conference notebook. I love my conference notebook. Okay, I just wrote a 4-page article for the National Speakers Association. It was published in May about how to use OneNote for basically eliminating all of the, digital chaos in your life. Think about it, Lisa. All of the people that you see, they go to conference and they randomly take notes. They take them on a handout. They take them on their phone. They might take it on a laptop. It's like, where does all that information go at the end of the day? And so for me, I have these different associations. So here's all my sections. And I have these different associations where I attend conferences on an annual basis. And before OneNote, I would have a notebook like we talked about earlier. And I did the same thing. I would take like a little 3M sticky page divider and I would write the year on it. And then every year I would go to my closet and I would grab that notebook and I would put my notes in the notebook so all my notes stayed in the same place. Well, now I've gone digital. And so you can see going all the way back to 2014 for my NSA conventions that I go to, I have my notes. It tells me even where the conference was. Right. So then I have my notes for all the sessions I went to. So the 2018 Influence is coming up next week. I'm getting ready to go to that. And so I'll have soon a bunch of pages. And here's the thing I was talking about earlier that's really cool with the subpages is last year when I went to conference, it was 2017 Influence in Orlando. And then these are the different sessions that I went to.
Nice.
And so what I do is I use a page to basically be sort of like my header. As you can see, it starts with 2014, 2015, 2017, then I have 2018. And then I do my sub-pages where these are all the sessions that I went to. So I have some sort of a structure in the notebook so I can just really easily scan down here and see what I'm looking for.
All right.
Now the beauty too of OneNote is that there is a great search engine for searching things that you've tagged or any kind of, you can search on any word and it'll pull up a list of information. And a couple more notebooks that I have. We moved earlier this year, so I kept a notebook that I shared with my husband on things that needed to happen between one house to the next. And then I have another notebook for the OneNote classes that I'm teaching. So these are kind of like the main notebooks that I'm working in all the time. And that is how I chose to subdivide the information. But when I first got started, I had 3 notebooks. I had Eliminate Chaos. Right. I had Laura. And I think I had recipes, and that was it.
Funny.
But over time, you can see how I've accumulated this data that is so easy to share with others, and I want my team members to have access to this, that I've subdivided it and I put it out in different notebooks. So that's kind of how I've structured my notebooks and might even give some viewers the ideas of things that they can do in their business of how they can use different notebooks.
I really like that. I didn't know you could add pages on the side. In all fairness, I have tried to use this. I just can't wrap my head around it because I think I'm just too used to my own system. So if you are trying to train somebody to change the system, how do you do it? Because it looks great. I'm like, I just don't know. I would have to probably make it a project for me to move my life to that.
Well, with any, kind of organizational project that you're working on, I always say in one of my books, step 1 is to make time, right?
Yeah.
And it does take time. I had one client that I worked with many years ago, and she was really anti computer, taking notes on the computer, used to having her paper, but their office was moving. And she was going into a much smaller space, so she could not have all of this, these paper files. And so we set up notebooks for her to track, you know, all of the meeting notes that she went to on a weekly basis with different team members, where she could take data on a regular basis and dump it into the notebook so she had it and she was prepared for the meetings. And then that way, when she walked in with her laptop, she had all the data that she needed. And then she was able to scan a lot of those notes and insert them as a PDF so that she had access to that data, which drastically reduced the amount of paper that she had in her office. But here's the thing. I didn't walk into her office on day one and say, well, this is what the tool we're going to use, and this is how we're going to set up, you know, OneNote for you. You know, we had to kind of walk through, you know, everything that she was doing for work and the problem that she was trying to solve. And then we had to look at the structures, and we had to determine that she's got all these projects that she worked on for doing fundraising for this organization. And so we needed to have like a projects notebook that had all of the different initiatives that she worked on. But then she also had her weekly meetings with her supervisor, you know, like vice president of the company, and then also all of the individuals that reported to her. So those had to be separate notebooks where we could track all of the details for those meetings. So, you know, you have to kind of start from the top down and then break it down and then figure out what that structure is, and then figure out what the page layout is going to look like over here. And it's real easy to like drag and drop these pages and arrange them in any order. Nice. But you still want to get some sort of a structure. If I take you over to my office procedures notebook, I want to just point out a couple of other little things that I've done both internally and with clients when it comes to kind of like getting this data organized. You can see that there are some pages that are in boldface, and that's because there's been data that's been updated that I just haven't looked at yet. And so you can see that my initials are here, and then Sammy's initials for what we've each updated, and I can turn that off so I don't have to see that at all. And then the next...
Wait a second. So when other people are doing it, it goes bold. And then you can see who up. Oh, that is cool. I didn't know that.
So yeah, that's really cool. Now, remember when I was talking about the client productivity notebook that I have with Malia that I share?
Yeah.
So whenever she goes out to a client and she takes the meeting notes or other information about the meeting, all I have to do is go into the notebook and look for the pages that are in boldface, and then I know exactly what she's added. And once I click on it, so for example, if I come in here and I click on expense reports, the next one I click on is faxing. You see how it undoes my expense reports. It's no longer in bold. But one other thing I want to point out to you is that we have a few other little tricks that we do in the office. One is on this expense reports, Sammy asterisked this page. So just by putting the asterisk here, we can quickly see, all right, this is a new page that we need to fill in our notebook. Oh. And then one of the other things that we've done over time is that when someone has gone in, and there's like 5 of us that have access to this notebook in the office, she puts an S. So like on gift certificates, she puts an S in front of the page, which means she went in and updated some of our procedures. And that just gives me notification that I need to go in and review what she wrote. And then once I know what she wrote is great, then I remove the S and the page just says gift certificates.
Nice.
So that's the system that we've set up to know where I need to look at certain things that others have edited. So I know that we're all on the same page in doing something internally for the business. Yeah.
You're smart. You are a productivity expert, though. I don't think we mentioned it. Your business is called Eliminate Chaos.
Yes, it is.
I forgot to mention that. And it was funny. I didn't even know you did all this other stuff when I first met you. So What you're showing here is a great demo that not only technicians can watch, but they can share with their clients to say, look, here's what you could be doing, right? I mean, this is what you'd help them with, set up these templates and things like this.
Yeah, and so, what we're looking at here is basically a structure. So if I took office procedures and I thought about, well, this really isn't clients. This is like what we do in order to set up new clients. So you can see, I've got some, different people that have updated things here. Things about, QuickBooks, Office admin, how to work our phone system, one of our assistants' notes, newsletters, training that we do. I mean, you have to kind of think about how is your business structured, like what kind of data, how is it going to be easy for someone to come in here and look up at the top and then quickly be able to find, the data that they're looking for.
Right.
And there's all sorts of different ways that you can lay that out. But you got to have some sort of a structure in place. And then with templates, so in templates, this is a meeting note template that we created, and this is what I've done for a lot of clients is, you have these weekly meetings, and so you can create a page that just says meeting notes or whatever you want to call it, and then what you can do is you can turn this into an actual template so that every time you click on add a page in this section of your notebook, it brings up this page, so you never have to set this up. You're just filling in the sections.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Really nice.
I think the Microsoft Teams has, you can use this in Teams now. And Tim, who did our Teams course, touched upon it, but we didn't go into it as deep as like this. But I believe you can, which that would make it like really robust.
Yes.
You can merge the two together. I've never seen it happen, but.
Yeah, I haven't done much work with that yet. So, but I'm sure it's coming as more people start to use the Teams.
Yes. I think that, the Office 365 product line is getting so like rambunctious right now that it's when you're the IT support person, you have to really listen to your clients and be like, what problems do you need solved? Like you've said a couple times.
Right.
You've got problems. And already now I've been thinking, I know at least 2 clients I think that would love this just based upon what you showed me. I didn't know a lot of this because I don't use it.
Well, here's the thing. I've taught OneNote classes for years, and I've done custom classes for, companies that bring me in after we design, kind of their notebooks. Some companies bring me in and I just do my, getting started with notebooks or beyond the basics. It's just what I call my off-the-shelf training. So there's no customization. I just go in and I do the standard program that I have. But I think that the key thing and why I keep going back to like the business needs is that when I go in and I look at what people are doing with their notebooks and I just see all this random sort of, structures and notes, and there's no rhyme or reason. And so, last year at one point I did a class down at the Seattle World Trade Center, and I brought in about 10 different business people, and we had a conversation up front about how you could use OneNote for personal reasons or in your business. And there was actually a couple of real estate agents in that class. And one of them has gone almost completely paperless now. She's gotten everything into the notebooks. But the big takeaway that I will have to say that every person that walked out of that class was that the conversation and the dialogue and knowing like ideas of how to set up the notebooks, like what do you call them, and how do you set up your sections, and how do you slice and dice that data? Because remember I said there's no right or wrong way to do it, but you need to have it in some sort of like organized fashion. And I think that that's where people like get really hung up is they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to take all this data and then chunk it up and go from there. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that, we look at is Malia and I can go in and we can look at, what is that business problem? What does that business need? How do the employees need to share this information? What information needs to be secure and password protected? Now, keep in mind, I know you talk about backing up the data, which is really important, but, one of the things that I always say is a lot of times there's going to be data in your notebook that you want to be kept confidential. So you can password protect a section, and I recommend that you
Where do you do that?
Password protect a section.
Yeah.
So on here, if I want to go,
there it is.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go back to training. You just right click on any tab and you say password protect the section.
Okay.
Now, this is important. Write down that password or stick it in your LastPass or whenever you store passwords, because if by chance you forget that password, you're not going to be able to recover it. And this happened to me once. I was demoing this, trying to set up something for a client, and I locked myself on one computer out of a section, but I was able to go bring it up on another computer really quick and move all that data before it synchronized into another section.
Nice.
I don't recommend it, but I was able to figure that out. So just make sure that if you do password protect the section, that you write it down. And then the other thing too is, when you create these notebooks, like here's my notebook structure, all these notebooks right now, they're being stored in the cloud, okay?
Yeah.
And by the cloud, I mean OneDrive. And so I could also take one of these notebooks and store it on our server and share it out, maybe because the information is so confidential. Like we have other notebooks that we use in our office where the data is so confidential that we do not put it in the cloud at all. We store it on our own server, and it's password protected, and so you can share out notebooks that way. Now, a lot of people don't understand that when you set a notebook up, the proper way to share it, and then they wonder why others can't get access to it. And also the naming convention of the notebook, you can change the name of the notebook here, but it's not going to change the name of the notebook that is stored in the cloud or on your server. So it doesn't change it in that path.
Right.
And then, so if you do change it here, now your notebook name here and what's in the file path is different, and then people start to get confused, like what notebook was what. So that's why it's really important to think about up front, how do you want to name these so that you don't have to figure out, well, where is that stored online and how do I make the names?
That's half my fun, is people name them all the same.
Yeah.
Like
well,
Susie's notebook on 4 different accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm actually a little inspired right now, Laura, to maybe try it, because I'm doing this new business thing this summer, and I was like, maybe this is a good time for me to.
Go ahead.
I'm decluttering, which I know you love that.
Well, here's what you can do, Lisa. Like here I have my books.
Yeah.
That I'm working on, and anyway, if I have these different sections for different books that I've been doing, you could set up a whole notebook of just this new business that you're working on.
Right.
And put all of that data right there.
Well, I'm just starting it just now, so this is actually a great time to do this. And plus, again, I've got clients. I know that now that I can see it differently, I'm used to seeing people's messes. And to me, I'm like, but this actually looks very organized. And I think that this is a good solution that I can have my clients. I think some of them are tech savvy, which, they love that. They'll go figure it out themselves. But the templating and the customizing, that's where they don't want to do that.
Right.
They just want to pile stuff in there.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing is when I'm doing my public workshops, or when clients are just having me come in and do the off-the-shelf training, I think that our clients want to know that we actually practice what we preach, and we are organized, right, and we do think about the data. My background is in IT, right? management information systems. Well, you know, I live and breathe data every day. And whether it's, you know, in paper format or digital format, you know, it's always been my job for almost 30 years now is to figure out, like, how do you slice and dice data to get employees to have their fingertips on the information that they need. Because, you know, I watch too many people, not only at conferences, but in meetings, you know, they show up with a yellow pad of paper.
Yeah.
And they take notes, and then, you know, I think, well, where are those notes going to land? And are you ever going to refer to them again? Well, if you take your laptop or your Surface or your tablet or whatever, or even your phone, like sometimes I sit in meetings on a phone, and I'm sure people are thinking, oh, she's just playing on her phone. So sometimes I'll tell someone, hey, I'm really paying attention, but I'm taking notes in OneNote on my phone, and I'm typing it instead of getting out my big laptop.
Nice.
You know, that way they realize that I'm not just, you know, playing around on Facebook or something like that. but the key is that yellow pad of paper, that spiral notebook, I mean, that's not backed up, right?
No.
So you lose that, and there goes your notes. My notes are everywhere I go. They're on my laptop, my desktop, my iPad, my iPhone.
Nice. Well, I'm a little encouraged. I guess, yeah, like I said, I've never seen one so nice like that. I think for me to start, I'd do like 4, because that's my goal. Hi, Laura. What else do you want to show us?
Well, what else do you want to do?
That might be a good start. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing: is that this course is intended to show people. Well, it's Office 365, but I mean, honestly, if you were doing Office 365 with this, the desktop app would look just like this anyway. That's why I told people, or I'm telling folks that are watching, is that it's no different.
It'll look fairly similar. You know,
except on the cloud. It does.
Well, the data will be the same, but
Right.
You know, your ribbon bar will look a little different. You know, maybe it would be helpful if I just went through a few of the fun features that I really like about OneNote, so you can see how you can use it from a productivity standpoint.
Ooh, I like that button I didn't see before called Outlook Tasks.
Oh, yeah.
What does that do?
Which one was it? This one?
No, over 3. Right there.
One?
Nope, not the to-do flag, but the Outlook Task 2 over.
Oh, 2 over.
Nope, 2 to the right.
Oh, 2 to the right. Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, let me come back to that one.
Oh yeah, because that one right there, that could be the big button that sells.
Well, that button can also get you into a lot of trouble as well. So the one nice thing about OneNote is that it integrates with Outlook, which, you know, I've been teaching Outlook for 20 years and I've written about 10 books on that subject. And so I'm a big fan of kind of keeping everything where it works together. So remember how I was telling you that I went into the one company and I set up their meeting notes notebook so that she can hold that for their employees? Well, here's the really cool thing. When she was getting ready for the meeting, she would set up whatever her meeting note page looked like, and then she would email it out to everyone. And so this is what Malia and I do with our clients, is after we are done with our session, you know, and we filled in all these different sections, all we have to do is click this one button, email page, and it will open up and put all of our notes into Outlook, and then we just type in the email address of the person it's going to and send them the whole page of notes.
Nice.
It's that easy. And it keeps, you know, the date that the page was created, and it just says, you know, created using OneNote 2016. So that's one feature that I really like on this tab. Let me find a notebook where I have, let me go to my speaking one, and let me go to,
I'm just thinking how handy that would be in my follow-up emails to clients. Because that's something I'm working on right now, and I'm like, the follow-ups, I could put all those in there and hit that thing, and then it's just a little tracking. I like it.
So here's an example of this to-do flag, which I really like.
Okay.
So in this page of notes that I took from a conference, I put in that I needed to review my introduction and I needed to look at my titles to see if they're grabbing, attention. And so all I did was I click on either the to-do tag or hit enter after another one, and it puts in this button. And then I can search on all of my to-do tags to see what I still need to do in my OneNote notebook.
Oh,
So
wow.
you kind of use it as a task manager, but I actually don't recommend that from a business productivity standpoint. I think that you need a better sort of task manager, project manager, but this just shows me that I still have some open items. Actually, I've got this one done, but I need to do this one still. And then you can see here where I have gone in and I have inserted some handouts that she provided, and I have a link to that location on her website. But if I were to go back, and let me find another one where I know Dick Russo. This is a really good example. So I attended this session. I took all these notes. Okay, here's my notes. And then I had a handout that he provided during the session. And this is the handout right here. And then when I inserted this PDF, you have the option to insert as a file printout or as a file attachment.
Nice.
So when you insert it as a file attachment, you're just going to see this little PDF icon. But when you insert it as a file printout, it will put the icon here and then also the full
Cool.
page, right?
I love it.
And so here's like all my notes that I drew. Now, like a lot of people, what would they have done? They would have like had these handouts, and then they would have come back to their office and they would have gotten lost somewhere because they didn't do anything with them. But I came back to my office and I scanned them and I RAM filed them. And now I have them here with all of my
cool.
handwriting on there. So, this is kind of a cool little exercise that we did. So that's one tool that I really like to use is these file attachments. And then remember I talked before about recording audio and video? Yeah. Okay, so that's there. And then here's where we can create our page templates. So if I go back to my, let's see, I was in my office procedures in my training, and insert, so page templates. So there's all these different page templates that come with OneNote, and you can click on those, and then over here it will show you different templates you want to use. Right now I can't see it because our little screen is there, but let me move this over here. So you can see all sorts of different templates, like my templates that I've created, academic templates that you can pull up. Mm. But here's the thing, Lisa. So see these meeting notes right here? I can say save current pages template, okay?
Oh,
so
nice.
So when I do this, I'm just going to give it a name. I'll just call it Meeting Notes 2 because I already have one called Meeting Notes. And I have the option to say set as default template for new page in the current section. So I'll just do that because I can change it later. And then anytime, and I'm going to close this down, so anytime now that I come in here and I'm in my training section and I want to go to add to page, add page, here's my meeting notes, and see how it just created 2 new pages? And that's as easy as setting up a template. It's not, so here's the thing, Lisa. I sort of liken this to like a paper management filing system. It's really easy to slap a label on a folder, but that is not creating a system or a structure. It's really easy for someone to go out and create, like you saw that. It was like 2 clicks to create the template. What you have to think about is that you are, you got to figure out like what data is it that you're trying to capture and retain and then look at in the future to know how you need to create the template in order to capture that data. Because the physical act of like saving it as a template and then pulling it up is really easy. It's like the meat of what you're putting into it is what you got to figure out. And that's what people usually don't understand how to do.
Right. Oh, yeah.
All right. I don't know. How are you doing for time? I think
that's I don't know how long we've been. I'm sure you could go on for hours with this stuff. I'm actually like, can we do more? Maybe not in this session. Maybe we should wind it up. What we can do is, because this is kind of a unique course, not, like the other ones, is if anybody has any questions and we really would like to see another one, we could maybe, do a little more fun one next time. I think for the course, this is giving everybody a good overview of what it can do. And, it's a free product. You don't have to pay, even get it with the home version, I think, don't you?
I'm not sure about that.
I think so.
I'd have to look and see.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's just a free tool and it comes with everything. So it's a kind of a little hidden gem. I've tried it before, but I think now is a good time for me to get into it. But I think for technicians, the course was to show you more about what it can do on a commercial, or not commercial, but business level more. My home clients definitely use it all the time. It's just not something I got into. And technically, when you troubleshoot it, if you get someone with a big workbook and you're like, I don't know what I should do here, you're better off calling somebody who has experience than to go in and mess with someone's books. Because I can tell you that if they already have a mess and you mess it up more, it's going to make them a little upset, I think, if you don't know what you're doing. But I guess when I started, I didn't know what I was doing either. I just had to go slow. But Laura, how can folks get a hold of you if they want to talk to you for consulting or whatever, whatever else, the Outlook training? And
they can go to our website. Our main website is eliminatechaos.com. Or they can go to the business website, which is business.eliminatechaos.com. And on that website, it will talk about all the different OneNote consulting that we do, some of the training, and then our speaking website, speaking.eliminatechaos.com, talks about the different OneNote programs that we offer, both off the shelf as well as the custom training. And I can do the training virtual, and I can also do it in person. And I always give clients an option. I mean, I still have clients all over the country where they fly me out because they just want me there in person, because sometimes they think it's more effective. But if you can't remember all the different URLs, just go to eliminatechaos.com and then click on either business or speaking, and then you can get a hold of us that way. And our phone numbers are on the website as well.
Yeah. Also, Laura does work with Laura and her team. If you are a technician and want to refer them work, and that's kind of like a commission type thing, you offer that, right?
Correct.
Something I thought so. So there's no loss in leading people to learning things like this, because I think when we're all like, most computer business owners want to say yes to everything, and the reason why I could say yes to everything is because I have people like Laura to refer work to. I love it. All right, Laura, I think everybody's got your information there. And before I close out, I just want to thank our sponsors for the course. App River has been the course sponsor. And if you want to set up any your Office 365 sales and support, feel free to email Steve Harris, sharris@appriver.com. Be sure to check out the BitTitan course where you can get 3 free Migration Wiz licenses. And this video is on YouTube, so please give it a like, share, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I got playlists down below in the notes, and I just released my Outlook training videos for technicians, which are awesome. So they're free now. You can go check them out and learn from me. Anything else, Laura?
I think we're good.
All right, guys. See you in the next course number 12. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks.